As a leader, every day someone or something has the potential of doing something that will negatively impact you. And typically that usually results in some kind of negative emotion, frustration, anger, disappointment, stress, overwhelm, etc. Sometimes those things happen to be big external things to you. It could be, for example, the stock market tanks. The NASDAQ goes down by 3% and you lose a boatload of money. It could be that the Fed chooses to do or not do something. It could be that the government decides to enact a new regulation that's going to negatively impact you. It could be your state legislature decides to increase taxes on certain things that you're doing. It could be a vendor that decides to increase their pricing, right? There are lots of these external big things that you have literally no control over, but easily can negatively impact you, let alone the fact that the news can negatively affect you. It could be that someone from the opposite political party makes some comment. It could be a celebrity said something. It could be somebody in your industry made some comment, and you negatively are impacted by that, and you have a choice of how you're going to respond. It could also be something that happens up close and more personal to you between you and another individual or you and your team. It could be because somebody was supposed to get a project done by the close of business yesterday. You walked in today, it wasn't done, and you're ticked off that they didn't get that thing done. It might be a staff member who you've talked to them ad nauseum about the fact that one of your core values is collaboration and they keep working on their own. Or it could be somebody broke a policy that they know that they shouldn't be. Or maybe somebody spent way more money than their budget allowed them to, and you're like, how in the world could somebody do this? Right? Because it's affecting your cash flow, or your bookkeeper or accountant or whoever takes care of your books, makes a major mistake and it's affecting your cash flow. Like, around you, there are all kinds of things that are happening because other people are doing things that have the potential of causing you to be ticked off and to not be calm in the midst of that moment. And we're not even talking about your family. Maybe your kids do something that ticks you off, or it could be your spouse does something, or it could be, if you're married or have kids, it could be one of your neighbors. It could be someone in your church group or wherever you're connected. Like, all day long, people do things and say things that have the potential to negatively impact us. And that's why most people find that on a daily basis, there are a number of reasons why they get ticked off or frustrated or upset about something. But for you as a leader, the question is, how do I remain calm in the midst of all that stuff going on? Because right now, every day, I find myself getting upset about something. So how can I remain calm regardless of what happens around? It's a really important question. And for you as a leader, it's important because your job is to make good decisions as a leader in order to be able to produce results through other people. But if you're frustrated or angry, it's going to be hard to lead well. It's going to be hard to make good decisions, to not let your anger or frustration cause you to make a bad decision or a rash decision. To be able to remain objective and calm, that's good. Allowing those emotions to run with you, high probability you're going to make a bad decision. Or you're going to say something that you shouldn't say. Frequently, people say things that they shouldn't say because their emotions got the worst of them. But if you could remain calm, no matter what somebody said, no matter what somebody did, no matter what some big organization did or what the government did, if you could remain calm all the time, what kind of impact would that have on you and your life and your health, by the way? It'd be huge, wouldn't it? So how can you find your way around this? Well, today I want to talk to you about one of the top 10 best lessons I've learned in my life. And this one comes from a counselor. His name is Larry Crabb. And he talked about this, I think, in the late 80s, early 90s, when I learned about this. And his observation was when clients came into his office, they often were frustrated or upset or bitter, stressed out, overwhelmed about something. And he kept trying to figure out, how can I help them? Because they're struggling with trying to overcome those negative emotions. And what he observed is what I began to talk to you about in the beginning. He began to observe that all those things that happened that caused them to be negative were things external to them that were outside of their control. And he kind of illustrates it this way. He'd say, it's kind of like, here you are and you have a goal. In other words, I want this person to get this project done by the close of business today. And the problem is that in between you and this goal is the person's choice. They get a chance to vote. So Joe has the right to either get the project done or not get the project done by 5 o'clock on today. But You and I have very little control over that because Joe gets to vote. So if you want your kids, for example, to clean up the room, like you can tell them that, but the problem is that the kids get a chance to vote. They can choose not to do that thing. The government can choose to raise interest rates. Like you and I realize that there's a lot outside our control. And his observation was, if this is how we think and this is our goal over here, we've got to come up with something to change the definition of what a goal is. Because every time we put a goal and that goal is related to a person, it gets blocked frequently. And that block causes some kind of negative emotion, frustration, anger, bitterness, stress, etc. So how could you do that? Well, what if we said a goal is something over which you have 100% control over? Meaning there's only one thing you have 100% control over, and that's you, right? You can control you, but you can't control other people. So instead of calling this thing a goal, anything that revolves around another person becomes a desire. And a desire is something over which you don't have complete control. I don't have complete control. You don't have complete control over the stock market or the government or a political party or the news media. We don't have control over our employees. We don't have control over our vendors. We don't have control over our clients and customers. We don't have control over our family members. We don't have control over almost everything. In fact, if you think about it, the vast majority of things in this world that affect you and me, we have no control over, right? We just don't. All those things are desires. They're not goals. So you desire for your kids to pick up and clean up the room. You desire for your employee to get the work done. You desire for your employees to follow your policies and systems. You desire your employees to live out your core values, etc. But that can't be the goal because you don't have complete control over them, right? A goal between you and the goal is something over which you have 100% control of, and that is only you and your attitude and emotions. So if I notice, for example, that an employee has a project due by the end of today, what can I do? Well, I can make sure I delegate the task out well. I can make sure that I've given that person the resources they need, and I've given them the system that they need to be able to effectively do the thing that I've asked them to do by the end of the day. I can even remind them. I can send them an email in the morning and just say, hey, by the way, just want to make sure we're both in agreement that this is going to be done by the close of business today, right? Like I can encourage them, I can remind them, but I can't actually control them getting the thing done. I can only control me. And if you want to know how to remain calm in any and every situation, the only way to do that is by focusing on you as the goal, because that's the only thing you control. Everything else is a desire. So how do you solve this when something happens during the course of the day and you start feeling negative emotion, like you start feeling frustrated or angry or disappointed or stressed out or whatever the negative emotion would be? Well, what you do is you use a trigger. Now, the mistake that a lot of people make in this world right now is they use triggers in a negative way, like, hey, you triggered me. Well, no one can trigger you, by the way, right? You decide to give over your control to somebody else. Like if you're giving your emotions over to somebody else, like you're still in control. You're just choosing to allow them to make you angry. My kids used to hate that when I would say that when they were little kids. No one can make you angry. Only you can make yourself angry. No, Dad, you're making me angry. No, you're choosing to let me control your emotions. So a positive trigger is when you start feeling that negative emotion happen, you ask this very simple question. Did I just turn a desire into a goal? Did I just turn a desire into goal? And 100% of the time, the answer is going to be yes, right? Because you started allowing a negative emotion to happen because you're allowing somebody else to control you. So whenever you start to feel a negative emotion, just ask the question, did I just turn a desire into goal? That should be the trigger to get you to go, wait a second, I'm not going to give control over anyone or anything else. The only thing I can control is me. And as long as I can control me, that's the only thing I'm going to focus in on. So what can I do in this situation to remain calm and to fix this situation? Next time I'm going to have to put in a new policy. I can talk to Joe because he didn't get the thing done. I can, institute a PIP if I needed to. I can fire Joe. Like there are lots of things I can do, but I can't control making sure that Joe gets the thing done in that time. So once you understand this rubric between desires and goals, it's a game changer. I find that on a daily basis, whenever I find some negative emotion going, I just allow that to be the trigger. Did I just turn a desire into goal? 100% of the time, the answer is yes. I'm back to calm. Now I can be more objective. Now I can make better decisions. Now I can put in better systems. Now I can, control the communication I have with the person. But the thing I can't control is their response and what they're going to do. I can only simply control me and my attitude. When you make that transition to allowing other people to control you, it's a game changer. Now, one of the mistakes that people make is they'll start feeling some kind of emotion and then they ride that emotion. One of the things that you and I have to realize is just because you and I think something doesn't necessarily mean we have to run with it. We get to choose what waves we're going to ride. So just like temptation, just because temptation occurs doesn't mean you have to fulfill the temptation. Just because you feel a negative emotion doesn't mean you have to fulfill the negative emotion. The moment you start feeling negative emotion, trigger that and just say, did I just turn a goal into a desire into goal? The answer is 100% of the time, yes. I'm back to calm. You want to know the secret to being calm as a leader in any and every circumstance? It's pretty simple. You make a goal, only those things over which you have 100% control. Everything else is a desire. And whenever something negative occurs and you start feeling negative, you simply ask, did I turn a desire into goal? Once you do that, it triggers you and you go, okay, I'm good. Because I'm not going to let somebody else or something else control me. I'm going to maintain control. And that, my friend, is the secret to being able to remain calm in any and every circumstance. You can do it. It's goals versus desires. Once you get this, I think it'll be a game changer for you as well, as it has been for me and for hundreds of others who I've explained this to over the years. So I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson and in Growth School. And I hope if you haven't subscribed that you will subscribe, because my commitment to you is to help you grow and scale a self-operating business that can double every 12 to 36 months. And by the way, if you like today's video, make sure you watch this next one on how you can improve employee morale. So until next week, to your Accelerate Success, Bruce out.